see. Broken eyes still melt in the sun, and times that are broken can often be won again. For so long, and so really matters to me. Take a look around. You're out of touch, I'm out of time. But the part of my hair when you're not around. You're out of touch, I'm out of time. But the part of my hair when you're not around. Oh, 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 oh. Reaching out for something to hold, looking for a love where the climate is cold. The manic moves and draws a tea, or living in the middle between the two extremes. Smoking gas, hot to the touch, would cool down if we didn't use them so much. Yeah, we're so alone, and so really matters to me. Too much. You're out of touch, I'm out of time. But no matter my hair when you're not around. You're out of touch, I'm out of time. But I'm out of my hair when you're not around. Oh, 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 ooh, my hair when oh, oh, oh. Out of touch. We're out of touch, I'm out of time. But I'm out of my hair when you're not around. You're out of touch, I'm out of time. But I'm out of my hair when you're not around. You're out of touch, we're so alone, girl. But I'm out of my head when you're not around. You're out of touch, I'm out of time. Out of touch, out of touch, out of touch, out of mind, girl. You're out of touch.
Welcome back. It is Razor Sharp News Chronicle. I am Ramon. Bold Like a Leopard is the YouTube channel. And obviously we are coming down at the end of the year. Hanukkah was last week. This week is going to be, what is it? In a few days it's going to be Christmas for some of you. And basically we are winding down what's been a pretty difficult year for everyone. But I did want to talk a little bit about, the future. And it's a very uncertain future for many of you as well as myself. And I don't know what to give you as far as advice. If you have kids who can't go to school because there's lockdowns, or you can't go to your place of business, or you can't go to your church or your synagogue or your mosque or whatever it will be. I don't know what is the rhyme or reason to this, because apparently people are constantly now attempting to make this vaccine into a major political issue. There is already a lot of fear-mongering going on about whether you should take the vaccine. Now, I personally am not going to take it. And the reason I'm not going to take it has nothing to do with whether vaccines are good for you or bad. But the fact is that I'm not in a vulnerable population group, and therefore I think that I should be allowed to, just withhold taking that treatment, right? Why would you get treatment for something that you're not suffering for, right? Do you take arthritis medication if you don't have any pain in your joints, like arthritic pain? No. It's generally accepted that if you don't do treatment for something that you're not suffering, then you're basically fine, right? Yes, there are things that sometimes you might take certain medications, for example, supplements, or they're not considered a medication, but they might be used by people in order to boost certain, for their immune system. Some people take vitamin C, things like that. I personally am not going to be taking any medication, whether it's a vaccine or anything else, that I don't have a health requirement for. And I think that we're entering a very dangerous time for humanity when people are being shamed either for taking the vaccine or not taking the vaccine. And you can actually have videos being removed because of the opinions that you express concerning it. So I'm going to leave it at that. But in terms of video removals, I will, first of all, go into a little bit of a different topic so that we get into that issue of freedom of speech and get into the whole nugget, the whole massive conundrum of how do we talk about the things that are important day-to-day issues when, in fact, tech companies, they don't want you to talk about them, or they want to filter what you can or cannot say. So I want to, showcase, whoops, it's the wrong screen, sorry. So here we go. So on this screen, you will see the subscribe screen for Razor Sharp News Chronicle. You may subscribe to that. I know I don't frequently send you, newsletters, but you should subscribe. I'm not going to bother you every day, so take solace in that. I will send you different bulletins about various things that I'm working on, and it's really just my content for now. So, I personally am not engaged in content creation every single day. I do writing, obviously this is a live stream, I do video creation and things like that, but you're not going to be bothered day to day by this newsletter, but you will be able to keep tabs on different projects that I'm working on. And there's many other people. In fact, I might actually create a Substack as well. So I might have 2 newsletters going, and eventually I think this one, we'll see what happens, but I think the Substack will end up being a little bit more of a permanent fixture because it is, and I can tell you, Substack is one of the best places right now, one of the only places where you can actually publish stuff and you don't have curation. So yeah, subscribe to this. This is on MailChimp, so you can get newsletter bulletins from me. But I did want to talk a lot about alt tech today, and I say a lot because yes, we are entering into a future where tech companies don't necessarily see you as a worthwhile customer, and they don't see the creators that you like to listen to as people that they want to host anymore. They've seen that as something that they don't want to deal with. So I'm going to address each one of these individually, and you can all make your choice where you want to go. But I'll tell you what. There's for me personally, in terms of what I use in order to listen to my favorite creators, I have been making an extra effort whenever I can to use alternative tech companies like BitChute and Odyssey in order to wean myself off of YouTube specifically. I don't use Facebook nearly as much as I used to because I'm banned on Facebook almost as much, probably more than I'm not banned. So, those are as far as the ones I've used the most. I don't use Facebook nearly as much as I used to. I use Parler a little bit more. I use Gab, and I use Minds a lot. So all of those I will get into. And Twitter I'm banned on, so you don't have to worry about me sticking to my principles regarding Twitter because I can't go on Twitter. I've been banned for over a year now. Now, in terms of BitChute, now I will talk about these, and I've made videos on these in the past, but I want to keep on harping on this because I know there's some of you who might be watching on YouTube or watching YouTube later or watching on one of these alternative platforms, and you might not be satisfied with them, but you're also not paying attention to how the situation has drastically improved as far as alt tech, and it's better at least as far as performance. Okay, it could be that we're at a point that this is before some of these companies are going to be you know assailed by the media, and basically you're going to see them being threatened with all sorts of other tactics that we haven't seen yet, as far as these sites, like what happened with Subscribestar. If you don't remember, Subscribestar was the alternative to Patreon, and I believe that they were forced out of many different payment middlemen, such as Stripe, such as PayPal, the Cash App. So this could also happen in other ways for groups like BitChute, for companies like BitChute. Now, what's the advantage of using BitChute? Nowadays, after I've been on BitChute for, I believe it's almost 3 years. I'm not quite sure. It's either 2 or 3 years, but I've been on BitChute for a very long time. I think I think it will be 3 years this March. So in the beginning, God created YouTube. I'm just kidding. So in the beginning, when BitChute started, it was not really a real competitor to YouTube, and it's very obvious why. First of all, um, the the quality of the video was much lower. I believe it was 480. Another reason that it was so bad was that it was a P2P format. It wasn't exactly streaming. It's some sort of other very I don't know how to explain it because I'm not exactly an expert on data streaming or data sharing. So you'll have to bear with me. But you did have a lot of choppy performance because P2P, if you remember the good old days of MuTorrent, if you remember Napster, so you would be essentially seeding a video or an audio file, and it was anyone's guess how good that quality was. Nowadays, the quality of BitChute is much better than it used to be. And then there was there was another problem. The other problem was that there was no mobile app for BitChute. Now they did create a BitChute mobile app that was very mediocre. I used it for a long time. Eventually, and these are things that Styx Hexenhammer has talked about, and also Computing Forever, if you know who he is. I'm sure Ophir, who was in the chat earlier, knows who Dave Cullen is. They created an alternative BitChute app called BitSlide, which I use, and it is great. And I can tell you that if you are moving about your house or in an area where you have a good connection, there's really no problem using BitSlide in order to listen to your favorite YouTube creators on BitChute instead of on YouTube. And I do it a lot. Another thing that they developed with BitSlide, which is better than the BitChute app, and I don't even know if the BitChute app is even on Android anymore, on Google Play, but another feature that they vastly improved on was the background playback. So you don't have to have your phone, you don't have to have your phone literally on, and you don't have to have the video showing on your phone screen in order to listen to it. That's something very important for me because I'm not going to watch a video. In fact, you could say that I would be probably fine using what do you call it? What's that app called? SoundCloud. I used to use SoundCloud for a lot of things. Now the problem is with SoundCloud is that they don't have quite the variety of creators as they do on other platforms like YouTube. But there are some great creators on SoundCloud, and I would say that if you're one of these people who wants, and now I'll get back to SoundCloud in a second because there's something I do think you can use SoundCloud for that it's not yet a feature for BitChute or for Odyssey. But generally, there's two problems with BitChute that I think it needs to overcome before it becomes fully a competitor with YouTube. Those problems are being able to download a video to your phone and listen to it offline. That's something that YouTube still has, which I use very much. Now, it might be that many of you don't really use YouTube for that, and it's just like an individual problem of mine. But I think plenty of people would probably use BitChute more if you have that capability. The second capability, the second function that is much more important is live streaming. Now, if you're watching this stream today, you can also watch this stream on DLive. Or sorry, you can't watch it on DLive because DLive is glitchy. But you can watch it. I believe it is on. In fact, I'm looking at the Twitch, the Twitch stream right now. You can watch it on Twitch, which is fine. I personally don't really use Twitch. I find Twitch to be, I guess it's more for gamers. To each his own. But you can find it on Twitch, which is fine. But Twitch is only for streaming. You can't have playback of a live video on Twitch, to my knowledge. I mean, I might be wrong. If I am wrong, you can put it in the chat. So you can find it on Twitch. I think at some point we will get the DLive to work. I'm not sure why it didn't work today. In fact, it's very annoying that it didn't work. But, geez. So yeah, I think I have to set a couple things up on DLive in order to stream there. But both of those are good for live streaming. That's why I have you. If you're one of these people who has a real problem, maybe you're banned from commenting on YouTube, you can comment on Twitch. And maybe at some point on DLive as well. I think on Periscope, I'm not sure if it's working. And by the way, so talk about all tech, like mainstream tech, basically, just trying to, sandbag itself. You just have like Periscope. One second. So Periscope is basically saying, yeah, we're going to phase it out and we're just going to roll it back into Twitter. What the hell is the point of that? like why would you want to integrate? There's a lot of people who are fine using Periscope. They want to be able to share videos, and they don't use Twitter because they don't want to be writing out 150 character like turds all the time. They don't want to be emitting those all the time. They want to focus on listening to a video or watching a video or whatever. Periscope, I think, was a great innovation from the Twitter people. And in fact, I find Periscope, I don't really use Periscope, but Periscope was a much better idea, right? Because who cares, right? You're not like Twitter is one of the most low intelligence platforms there is. Think about how stupid it is. You have to write your thoughts out within a small character limit and then create a thread or whatever. Why would that be a great format? And I think it's proven that it hasn't added to the greater knowledge of the world having Twitter. It actually adds more disinformation. If tech companies really want to limit disinformation, the first platform that has to go is not any alt tech platform. It is Twitter, in fact. By the way, so we'll get into. So let me go into some of these other platforms that are alt tech, but they're not really specific to video. So you do have Parler. Uh, Now Parler, I think, is mostly skewed to the conservative side. Welcome to Larry Gerke. I salute you, my good sir, great Navy veteran. Been following me for a couple years, I think. MC also, I have my disagreements with MC, but you're always welcome, my friend. Anyway, so you have Parler very skewed to the conservative right, but if people go on, and I do see there's like leftist trolls on Parler, generally I don't see anybody blocking them. I see it, like I would say Parler is still a good free speech commenting platform, and I think there is an ability to upload videos to it and just upload it as a post, but it's not really a video platform. Minds.com, I think, is better than Parler, though. So, one second. I would say Minds.com is the jack of all trades. You do have the ability to upload videos. You do have the ability to write out blogs. You have the ability to do all sorts of shit on Minds. So bear that in mind. I think Minds.com is great. I'm not sure why you're not on Minds. If you're not on Minds, grow a brain. You should be on Minds. That should be their new tag, right? It should be grow a brain, get on Minds, right? Where's that Catholic soy boy I argued with? Haven't seen him since he blocked me. Well, you have to understand I know who he's talking about. I'm still in contact with him. He is a great example of someone who hasn't realized that your ideas are of very limited interest to the general public on a platform like Facebook, right? So he continues to plow away on Facebook, and where are the results? All he does is argue with people and get into stupid debates about divorce, and if he thinks that he's going to undermine the American confidence in the institution of look at this. So you can find things like this on Minds. so Minds.com. I'm gonna talk a little bit also about some of the drawbacks or alleged drawbacks of these platforms. Okay, and that's really going to be the main focus today. It is going to be alt tech. Let me see here. So I do have to edit this. 1 second. So sorry about the address coming out, or I should say sorry about the previous stream not working, but it is a little difficult to use Restream.io. For some reason, they don't exactly publish very cleanly, and I had to restart the stream and everything. But most of the different links should work right now. Here, let me fix that. So as far as GAB is concerned, GAB is one of the most controversial of the alt tech platforms, and one of the reasons for that was the use of GAB by the Pittsburgh shooter, who I don't even remember his name. Not that I would use the name, but interestingly, talking about GAB, talking about Minds, and talking about Parler, those are good segues into the issue of extremism on alt tech. And my answer to people who are concerned about extremism is the more that you participate and the more that you bring your views into it, and if you consider your views to be, for lack of a better word, not extreme, right? You basically moderate the platform by adding your content, not by blocking someone else's and not by reporting someone else. The way that you make a platform into something that is more palatable to your tastes is that you bring your vision of what you want it to be and you add it to the tapestry of what that platform is. So I have Ophir in the chat. Ophir loves to troll people, which is his right. And, I get criticized for trolling. I actually have trolled people too. And I get into fights with other people who've trolled me. But when you go onto these platforms and you add your voice, and you might put in some of your, maybe your own videos or your own blogs or your own articles and things like that, that automatically it dilutes the so-called extremism that you're talking about. So if you are on Gab, you will often find, and we can go look at it. So some of these titles I might not exactly, I might not be able to necessarily say out loud, but you have people here who are, in some cases, they are racial identitarians, right? But here you have Italians on Gab. Is there any problem with people coming in and they're Italians? You have people from Sweden here. You have Danish people. Here's MAGA Buckeyes. So I live in Ohio. That's actually an interesting group. You have a local group, Kersey Area Residents Against Taxation, MAGA Massachusetts. So these are not actually large groups, but there's plenty of different groups, and they would not be, okay, people who are very, it's not as if even these small groups are hiding these violent fanatics, because you would probably hear a little bit more about it. There's a group calling for nominating Michael Flynn for president in 2024. And here there's a Mesa County Patriot. So there's all of these groups that are these are just the politics groups on Gab. Now go over to, this is sports. You have Formula One. You have a NASCAR group. So this idea that Gab is this hotbed for extremism is not really founded. And I would challenge you to go on these platforms. First of all, there's nothing that you lose from joining Gab. But let's say you don't want to join. I'm sure that you can log into it. You can look at some of these groups. You can look at some of these posts, and you might not like some of the posts that you're reading, but that's just the way it is, right? Yeah, you might see somebody. I know this might be a little difficult if you're one of these people who may have been born in a cradle of bubble wrap and never had to actually, lace your own shoes. But sometimes people will share things on public forums that don't exactly say nice things about things that you find important. So that's my stance on that. Apparently, so I didn't know this. Is it true that Donald Trump is on Gab, or is this like just a fake account? Because it says verified on Gab. So apparently he wrote, 2 years ago, the great people of Wisconsin asked me to endorse a man named Brian Hagedorn for state Supreme Court justice when he was getting destroyed in the polls against a tough Democrat candidate who had no chance of losing. After my endorsement, Hagedorn easily won. Let me see here. So what's happening with Brian Hagedorn? I know this is a little focused, but what's going on here? So anyway, I would say there's no problem using Gab. Now the person who is running Gab, his name is Andrew Torba. Now he started this thing called GAB.TV. And he is certainly not someone who would be aligned with my political beliefs. I would say he's one of these Christian nationalists, and I don't care. That's fine, but I see no problem with using his platform, and I don't think he has a problem with people who disagree with him coming to his platform. I do know that Gab had an issue last year where people were saying, why don't you let us post stuff that is a little bit more, it wouldn't be X-rated, but it would be sexually suggestive. So Gab, this is like I'm getting into the weeds here, but the people who own Gab are religious Christians, and they don't want e-thoughts. They don't want these women who are basically showing their goods on the net to be on Gab, and they started to really, really crack down on it. And people made a huge stink of it and whatever, but he decided it. I know it's not traditionally consistent with freedom of speech, because there are those who say that you can't have freedom of speech without, including certain things that could be seen as obscene, right? Including, pornographic content. So that's the one thing to really watch out for on Gab. You don't want to, violate that rule. But the idea that it's some sort of platform, A, that is extremely right-wing, and B, that is that censors people without justification is I think nonsense. It is literally just a place for people to post their stuff. Now let me see. There's tv.gab.com. Let me see this. This is like, I didn't even know this was coming out. So yeah, you can see some of these. These are small videos. So I don't know how functional it is yet, but it is here. So Gab is going to take a stab. No pun, sorry for the corny rhyme, but they are going to attempt to create a video platform. It doesn't look like it's functional yet, but it is really coming along. In terms of the other, so Parler, there's not much else to talk about. Minds, I think, is very, very useful. And you can do a lot of the things that people want to do on Gab, you can already do on Minds. I would say that Minds has a little bit of an issue where if you post stuff that is very racially insensitive, they ask you to put something that says sensitive material on it. Like, let me show you this one group that I'm a part of. So over here, this group, you have to put not safe for work, race, and religion. But my post has nothing to do with race or religion. But automatically, you have to you have to put it on. But anyway, so I would say of those platforms where they are competing with Facebook and Twitter, between Gab, Minds, and Parler, I would say Minds is the best. It's not even close, but there's not as many people on it as there are on Parler, and that's where I would leave it. So getting back to BitChute and getting back to video platforms, the live streaming capability is, I think, the biggest issue. And once they do get live streaming capability, which is not too far off, I think that you will see a major departure of users from YouTube to BitChute, because then you will see there are many creators on YouTube that love to do live streaming, but they don't do so many uploads. A great example would be just Judicial Watch. So Judicial Watch is a legal foundation that they typically will file suit in Washington D.C. or in, not just in Washington D.C., but let's say in Washington D.C. and look for and file these FOIA requests for Freedom of Information Act disclosure of information. And they do a lot of live streams on YouTube. Once you start to see live streaming on BitChute, I think a lot of these creators are going to migrate over to BitChute. They're going to create channels on BitChute. They're going to start telling their followers to go over to BitChute. That is going to be, I think, a sort of a watershed moment. It's not going to happen overnight that people will abandon YouTube. But you've already seen people, and I had people 2 years ago tell me that they're not going to be using YouTube anymore and they're only going to be following me on BitChute. And I welcome that. I welcome it for a very simple reason. It's impossible for people to grow on BitChute. Even people who are better creators than me, they're just having like tremendously difficult times either uploading a video and having it stay online because of all the ridiculous rules that could be violated and the strikes and things like that. Excuse me. So there's many creators who have already bolted from BitChute, and there's other ones that I think are withholding it because they don't really want to put in the effort of rebuilding their audience elsewhere. But I can tell you that it's going to have to happen. The corporate leadership of Google and Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google and YouTube, they don't see people who are having public discourse as the future of their platform. They are perfectly content with being an entertainment sharing platform, meaning that the same thing that you do with Hulu or with Amazon or Netflix or HBO Max, they want to do the same thing. I don't care, right? I don't really want to see the same thing on TV put on YouTube, right? I want a site that's a little bit more unique, and I want one where the people that I listen to, the people whose views I find to be enlightening, I want a platform where I can see that, and BitChute is a perfect place for that. Another perfect place for that, which is growing to some degree and which has a number of good independent people who I haven't even seen on YouTube yet, is Odyssey, right? So Larry is saying, that's what Styx Hexenhammer has been saying. Exactly. Styx Hexenhammer, his name is Tarl Warwick. You can ask, I listen to him every day in the morning. I listen to all of his videos, and I find him very entertaining and very insightful. And I'm being asked if I'm going to do garden updates. I'm sorry, I don't really have any talent for gardening, so I have to defer to him. I will say that I'm probably a little bit more of a cook than he is. He's been posting these cooking videos, and they're very, we watch him here, and it's like there's no reason to actually post those cooking videos because he's not making anything that's especially sophisticated, right? But yeah, I would say that what I end up doing is for Styx Hexenhammer, he has 4 videos a day. And he's been doing one video on only BitChute, and he's been doing the rest of them. They're on BitChute as well as Odyssey and YouTube. So I'll watch 3 of the videos on Odyssey and the other one on BitChute. But to be honest with you, you can just select one of them, right? And you watch it on BitChute. You watch all 4 of those videos on BitChute. That ends up being 40 minutes that if you listen to that creator, you're using the alt tech as opposed to YouTube. And what I've done is I've expanded that so that there's more and more creators that I'm using BitChute for than I am using YouTube for. So you're basically weaning yourself off of the YouTube teat and going over to a platform that's a little bit more, what should I say, reciprocating, right? And what do I mean by that? You can go to my channel on Odyssey, and I will tell you, first of all, I like using Odyssey a lot. I wouldn't say it's better than BitChute now, because BitChute has caught up very much. It's been very, very aggressive at closing a lot of the gaps that I had before. So the playback on BitChute is much better than it used to be. Now on Odyssey, I would say that there is some problems with the playback on Odyssey on mobile. It's not terrible, but there are issues. Another issue with Odyssey is that, and while you wouldn't call it an issue, I would say this is an advantage, is you can actually take videos from someone else's channel, share them on yours, and you both get a share of this weird cryptocurrency that they have, which is, what do you call it? It is, I don't even know what it's called, but in any case, so you can have tokens, Odyssey tokens, or library tokens. I forget what it's called. Library and Odyssey are the same, for those of you that don't know. But yeah, you should subscribe to at least one of these. So BitChute or Odyssey. And Odyssey also, before BitChute had it, Odyssey had background playback on your phone. So you could go and use it wherever you wanted it. So that was a huge advantage at the time. Now of course it doesn't matter, because BitChute has it as well, and that's really the benefit of having alternatives. You have one platform gets some sort of advantage over the other, then they build up, and each of them has to compete in that way. Once there's live streaming on BitChute, I think another thing that they're going to bring, and I've heard a little bit of so let me see here. There should be an article. So support on BitChute. So they say we don't have a confirmed date for live streaming yet. However, this is a feature that we're working on, and we've recently undertaken a successful test. For more information, please see this video. So they have this on GitHub, and that was I don't know when this started, but they are going to have at some point live streaming on BitChute, and that would be a major. Think about it this way: the USA landed on the moon in 1969. It took the Soviets, I believe, 13 years later to publicly land on the moon. Now, I know that some people are going to laugh at me. They're going, "Oh, that the moon landing was fake, you fucker." But hear me out for a second. The race to the moon was a major, major turning point when the U.S. claimed to get to the moon, and apparently in 1972 they went to the moon again. So did the first moon landing happen? But you get the point. Getting to the moon was a major inflection point in the race between the USA and the Soviet bloc in order to be technologically superior. And that was something that the Soviets had to aspire to after, being the first in space. They got the first human in space. I believe they also had the first non-manned aircraft or spacecraft to get into orbit. So all of those different points, that was a great period for human history. Forget all about all the other negative stuff about the Cold War. That's beside the point for this discussion. The space race was a great way for humanity to advance forward technologically. In the same way, when you have Odyssey, when you have BitChute trying to catch up with YouTube, you will see eventually, because of the limits on freedom, because of the limits on usability of YouTube, there will be rapid leaking of users from YouTube to those other platforms. You can see now that there's this stream is being throttled. That's one of the reasons I encourage you, whether you're watching right now or watching later or for whatever reason that you are watching this on a different platform, go ahead, look at the links in the description, follow me elsewhere, and wean yourself off of the YouTube teat. That's something that I think is the big message of today. And I know some of you, I'm pretty sure MC's like up to date with all this, but you know, if you're already aware of this, you should be telling people around you. You know, YouTube is not a platform that encourages freedom of expression. It's not a platform that encourages thinking, right? They're telling you to basically just trust corporations that have partnerships with it now. So that's as far as Odyssey and BitChute. The last video platform I'm going to talk about today is Rumble. And I can tell you that Rumble has a couple of drawbacks, but those I think will be resolved very, very fast. So one of the reasons that I even use Rumble is because of a very specific creator. And that creator is now an investor in Rumble. And I'm sure that at this point, he's starting to see some yield from that investment. His name's Dan Bongino. I've actually read a few books of his, and I think I even did a couple of reviews on them. Let me see here. The Memes of Destruction is saying Pornhub took down 10 million videos, and he says he's waiting on verification on Pornhub. Well, Memes, we support you in your struggle for verification on Pornhub. As always, I'm always, you know, in your corner, although I don't want to be anywhere in your vicinity because obviously I don't want to see those videos, but go ahead, look for that verification. You know, I guess your choices are the ones that you will live with. But Dan Bongino, he started to, you know, he started to look out for other platforms where he could invest. And one of them was Parler. Parler has succeeded lately in gaining a major part of the social media sector. And I think Parler is going to continue to expand because Facebook is throttling people and it's almost unusable at this point. Not only Facebook, but other mainstream social media platforms. Now, when he took Rumble by storm, it was, I even remember this moment, okay? When he discovered Rumble. He was doing an interview with a congressman. His name is Devin Nunes. If you have followed the whole Russiagate saga, Devin Nunes is probably a very familiar figure to you. But he was interviewing him, and Nunes was saying, yeah, I have my own podcast too. So I put it on YouTube, but I also put it on Rumble because YouTube isn't exactly an easy place to keep content up, and they often give you problems. So Bongino hears about this Rumble. Within a week, he says, I'm an investor in Rumble. And then he started a Rumble channel. I don't think that Bongino is on BitChute or on Odyssey, but immediately, because of one user, this Dan Bongino, there was this exponential growth on Rumble. And now, after only a few months, his show, the Dan Bongino Show, has eclipsed his YouTube channel on Rumble, right? So he has a few, I think he has 700 something thousand subscribers on YouTube, which is a good size for a YouTube channel, but it's certainly, you know, if you know anything about YouTube, growth on YouTube is very, very stagnant for even some of the best creators. But in any case, his growth on Rumble is phenomenal. He has 842,000 subscribers, and of those subscribers, he actually has, so for the show from yesterday, he has 186,000 views just on Rumble. So think about it that way. What's the daily audience for Chris Cuomo on CNN? So You need to be. I hate how all these blogs now you have to be registered or something. So this is actually from CNN's press room, and they're saying, "Oh, we have the best ratings on TV now," and they're saying this because Fox News has been tanking in terms of the ratings since the election because many of the Trump supporters have bolted Fox News. That's a very shallow reading of it, right? Um, so apparently, for the first time since October 2016, CNN topped Fox in total day in the demo 25 to 54 with 560,000 versus 417,000. Now, mind you, with 560,000 viewers, CNN is still beating Dan Bongino. Okay, now they're beating him by what would be effectively a 3-1 margin. But CNN has a massive brick and mortar operation in Atlanta and all sorts of bureaus all across the country, including New York City, that they have to pay for. Dan Bongino just does this from his somewhere, I think, in his den, and his wife just sits like across from him, and he has another guy in Maryland doing the production. So he has in total a 4-person production crew, and he rakes in all the revenue, and he rakes in all, first of all, the revenue from sponsorships and the revenue from ads that are not connected to sponsorships, all of that stuff. And now he rakes in supposedly some revenue from Rumble. So all of that income he makes, and he has much less overhead than CNN. So you tell me which one of these has the bigger the higher ceiling for success, the massive network that has to pay all of these personalities massive contracts, and also settle lawsuits and send people on site and things like that. The overhead for CNN is so high, and the rewards are so low that you can see that one of the reasons that they've reduced their real journalistic content over the past few years and has basically engaged in polemical garbage is because they don't make as much money sending people to Bosnia. They don't make as much money covering hurricanes as they do having idiots in the studio pretending to know about the Russia investigation and pretending to have insider knowledge of things that they don't have actual insider knowledge of. So that's as far as Rumble is concerned. I will say something. So you have Bannon's War Room. I have a friend who is a fan of it. Now they have 204,000 subscribers on Rumble. Okay, that's not a insignificant number. Now let me see if they even have a channel on YouTube. And if they don't have a channel, that might be bad news for YouTube. So, whoops. I think he might not be on. Okay, so Steve Bannon's War Room. They do daily broadcasts. They're on Newsmax. I think you can watch them on your TV if you want it. But you have. Wait a second. You have 308,000 subscribers there. And their latest stream, episode 600, had 56,000 views on YouTube. Let's look at what their latest stream was on. One second. So episode 600, which was yesterday, 3,400. So it's not quite gotten to the level as their YouTube. So if I was, one of the people advising Steve Bannon, I would tell him, tell your viewers to hop over to Rumble instead of YouTube, because if you have 300,000 subscribers and you're only getting 56,000 views on your stream, just like, I have supposedly 509 subscribers on YouTube. Now, I'm sure that the people who subscribed are real people. You could have people who are not real who are subscribing to you, or people who have 2 accounts or things like that. But you're definitely like, would you really want to have a huge subscriber count if you're not seeing that many people watch you? The truth is that you want a platform that will notify your viewers that you have either a new upload, or that you have an upcoming live stream, or that on YouTube they also have community posts. That was a great thing. Now you don't even see those sometimes. It's just not really something that that helps a channel grow, right? So you have Steve Bannon. He has this channel on Rumble, and it's definitely growing. But I think that if he was to emphasize it more, and I just subscribed to him, but in any case, it would probably like, I'm not even saying that he has to quit YouTube, but you have to tell people that if you want to have consistent followings between, or consistent interaction between viewers and creators, YouTube is a bad place to do it. Who's another creator that you can see here? You have Diamond and Silk. Now, if you're one of these MAGA people, Diamond and Silk is very familiar. And they now have 350,000 subscribers on Rumble. And of those subscribers, apparently during their last video, there were 16,000 who viewed it on YouTube. What's the following on YouTube? If they even have a channel, it's 319,000. So these people have been around for several years. They're 2 sisters from North Carolina, and they have a massive following. I think their biggest following is on Facebook, but they have had a big following on YouTube. Now, they technically have more followers on Rumble, and in fact, they had a live stream. So their last Rumble video was on the 20th, 2020 Vision. So they had 16,000 views on Rumble. They do a lot of live streams. Let's see, what was their... I don't think that they had it originally on YouTube, but it's actually comparable if you look at it. They had 12,000 on YouTube for the Michigan testimony, and they have 16,000 views on Rumble for their latest video on that. So those people who are, saying, well, alt tech isn't there yet or whatever, we're seeing Rumble basically get to that point very, very fast. It's not going to happen overnight, and there could be some setbacks. Who's another? I think Steven Crowder is on Rumble. So, like I said, there's a couple of... Let me see here. Oh, I don't think he has actual... This might be a fake Steven Crowder. Let me see if Blaze TV is on it. So I think that there are fake Rumble accounts. I do want to be clear here. But I think you should be at least exploring it. Dr. Steve Turley is on it. By the way, I did interview him. It was a Q&A, and I will put the link to the article on it in the chat here, so that you can read it, because unfortunately I wasn't able to get an actual video interview. I'm sure some of you would have probably liked that, but I did have a Q&A with him, and it was great. I would be glad to continue to talk to Steve Turley. I think he's one of the more refreshing YouTubers right now. But yeah, he is on Rumble. He has 35,000 subscribers on Rumble. How many subscribers does he have on YouTube? So we're going to go to his YouTube page, and he has 750,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I actually stopped watching his videos on YouTube and started, completely. He's one of the people I go to BitChute for him every day, and he has. Let me see here. 31,000 subscribers on BitChute, which he's been on for a very long time. So he already has more subscribers on Rumble than he has on BitChute. I think it's plausible that on Rumble he could end up growing to such an extent that he would end up passing his viewership on YouTube. And by the way, Dr. Turley is someone, or Steve Turley, whatever. I know there's this whole fight over Jill Biden and her doctorate and whether you call people doctor if they're not into medicine or whatever. Have a good night, Larry. But the fact is that Steve Turley, I think 3 years ago or 3 or 4 years ago, he had a tiny following. I think he had a following at the time. It would not be considered tiny, but he had a following that was in the low thousands. Now he has a following that is 750,000 people just on YouTube, and yet people are trying to make the case that, they want to make the case that this is a passing phase, the populist phase. So we're going to move a little bit away from all tech right now. We're going to talk about other themes in terms of politics and in terms of the economy and where the nation is headed. Steve Turley, for somebody to grow to such an extent, and this is a guy, he just sits in his, I think it's in his office somewhere in Delaware, and he just talks about 2 issues a day. For him to have that type of growth, and for people to try to make this case that this election was one where the people rejected national or populist nationalism, whatever he calls it, national populism, I think is the term he uses. It's just it's just absurd. I do believe, for the record, that the results of the 2020 election were clearly not what was reported and certified by the states, and that something has to be done. I'm trying to dance around the rules here, so I'm not trying. Like YouTube, if you're listening, I haven't mentioned anything about coder schmod or loader COD or any sort of thing like that. I haven't said anything about it. I'm not alleging anything like that vocally. People who believe those things, I think they're reading between the lines. But in any case, you see the growth of these channels, and that's on the one hand, and yet you see people, they're not watching TV anymore. They're not listening to mainstream podcasters anymore, and those audiences are shrinking. Meanwhile, the audiences for these alternative creators are growing. That's not enough. Now people have to wean themselves off not only the mainstream sources of information, but also the mainstream platforms. And that's why I focused so much on alt tech today, because you now have an alternative. You have BitChute, you have Odyssey, you have Rumble, you have Parler for other shit, but you have Rumble. You can use any of those. You can use all of those, and believe me, I use all of those at some times. But I've also told you already what would be the best ones in terms of performance and what you need them for, right? The fact is that not always does the best competitor rise to the top, because sometimes it's a marketing issue, sometimes it's an issue of imaging, and I would say the BitChute, as of this moment, you will get the best performance out of it. You will also see a lot of creators that you can't find on YouTube that might have never even been on YouTube, because they started creating videos at a time when YouTube started to throttle growth, so they never even bothered. So yeah, I would say you should try and use BitChute especially, but there's other ones that you can go ahead and try. Um, what else is on the agenda for today? Excuse me. There was a stimulus package for $900 billion. And I think that I would be remiss to say that if you think that this is, I would be remiss if I didn't say, if you think that this is a good thing, if you think that you getting $600 is a good thing, then clearly you never took any sort of economic education, because they actually have a breakdown of all of this. And this is from WATE channel 6, ABC. I don't know where it is. Here, I'll look it up real quick so you don't think that I'm making up a TV station. So WATE, I think it's not in Washington. So it is in Knoxville, Tennessee. Okay, home of the Vols, who are not going anywhere in college football. But you can see that state, local, and tribal governments received $160 billion. So if you are from a state like Illinois, where you basically know that the money that you're paying in taxes is basically being flushed down the drain for all sorts of bullshit expenses, just take solace in the fact that $160 billion of this $900 billion stimulus went to the same people. No, Knoxville, Nacho. Education, $82 billion. So, yeah, you're gonna see these school districts who pretend that they're afraid of COVID. By the way, if you are afraid to send your kid to school because of COVID and they don't have any underlying conditions, you are a moron. Your kid will be fine, and they should be like the problem is you might be afraid for the wrong reasons, because they might be getting an education where they end up believing that the government giving over $900 billion in stimulus, and you get $600 of that stimulus, but all these other people get much, much more. They might come out of your education system thinking that that was a good idea, when it isn't, because I believe it was Tim Pool today said that at the end of the day, you indirectly end up paying $2,700 a piece, each one of you out there, in order to facilitate this through taxes, but you're getting $600 back. So that's how absurd this is. Plus, there's the whole issue of inflation. Now, $45 billion went to airlines, airports, buses, transit, and Amtrak. And I think that there's a lot of it that also went to foreign aid. $288 billion went to the Paycheck Protection Program. So they say that that's going to go to small businesses, but I'll be straight with you. I know people who own small businesses, and this is too little and too late for them, and they would have rather just, stayed open and been able to serve people. And there was also apparently a lot of it that went to foreign aid to all these countries that, for some reason, we need to send to them. There's a graphic that I had, but I want to get like a more clear perspective. So bear with me for a second. So another thing I wanted to mention, I couldn't find a foreign aid thing, but apparently lawmakers reached deal. This is from Deadline. So Deadline is a media. They cover the media, so they're basically a media outlet that covers the media and entertainment. But they say, so lawmakers reached deal on COVID-19 relief that includes $15 billion for movie theaters and live venues. Now, with all due respect, I don't think movie theaters deserve it. I think that, the truth is, like, if we want these places to thrive, they have to be allowed to remain open, not have the government just keep them afloat through these, transfusions of funny money. So there's this Save Our Stages Act, and there's all these other provisions that are they're gonna save show business. But you know what would have really saved show business if they would have just kept some of these things open. But in any case, so I did see there was now if you have a little bit more information on this, please let me know. But I do have somebody who sent me this. It says apparently, so I don't have a source yet, but if you have something that you can send me, this is a breakdown that I saw. $600 to American citizens, so that's $600 to the people who pay for the entire bill. $40 million for the Kennedy Center. So the Kennedy Center, which isn't open, which is in Washington, D.C., which I believe that they do have an endowment from private donors, they get $40 million. $154 million for the National Gallery of Art, $1 billion for the Smithsonian Institute, $14 million for the Woodrow Wilson Center, $167 million for the National Foundation of the Arts and Humanities. Now you get into some of these foreign aid recipients. So $700 million for Sudan, $1.3 billion for Egypt, $1.4 billion for an Asia Reassurance Initiative Act. Who the hell knows what that is? $135 million for Burma. I did see earlier from a separate source $500 million for Israel, which some people I know were predictably upset about, but they don't really care about the other countries that receive it. So I want to be on record. I'm against the foreign aid to all these countries, not selectively one of them. $85.5 million to Cambodia, $135 million to Nepal, $33 million to Venezuela, whatever that means, because I thought we have sanctions on Venezuela, and $453 million to Ukraine. So while Americans are basically being told to stay home, not see relatives, pretend that they are afraid of this virus, or gin up their emotional vulnerability so that they are genuinely afraid of it, which is really weird. Like, there's people I know who originally weren't afraid at all, and then for whatever reason, even though nothing bad happened, they became afraid of it. Ovir says other countries you help hate you, Israel loves you. Well, I want to say I don't think that anybody in Burma hates America. I don't think that they really care. So I think he's grossly, Ophir and I, we have like these debates about foreign aid to Israel, and I will always say that it's just a bad idea. It's a bad idea because it actually, it doesn't act like people who think that giving money to Israel makes them more secure. Have to understand that we have strings attached and they have strings attached, and those strings don't have anything to do with security. They have to do with economic cooperation and various corporate deals that are there, and those that are like, well, we have to defend the relationship between these two countries, and part of that relationship is the foreign aid. I reject that. I think that we can have a strong relationship without foreign aid between the two countries. And in fact, I think once you eliminate the foreign aid, it might actually become stronger because of, I don't know, things like private cooperation, things like intelligence cooperation, maybe more trade, more products being sold between the two countries. It's like a very circular argument that they make. They say, well, we need to have here. Ophir keeps saying it protects American interests. No, it does not. You know whose interests it protects? It protects Lockheed Martin, and it protects a lot of these corporations that they sell. That, like, they basically get money through Israel from the American government in order to develop their bloated projects. That's whose interests it protects. The interests of these corporate defense contractors are not the interests of the American people. Okay, that's a statement of fact, and you can see that. You already see many of these defense contractors, American defense contractors, getting jobs in the Biden administration, and they are not going to stop the aid to Israel. What they will do, however, is do all sorts of weird demands concerning the peace process that people should have given up on long ago between Israel and the Palestinian Authority. But you're still going to get that, defense aid to Israel. Ophir is asking, will you stop aid to Egypt? I already addressed that question. I said I don't believe in aid to any of those countries, and Egypt would be one of them. I said that I don't think that any of those countries are like Sudan. Why would we be sending money to Sudan, right? Memes of Destruction is asking how much are folks getting? $600 per person, right? So I would say that if you are expecting anything to come of that, you are an idiot, right? I was actually talking to someone today. He said that when the previous stimulus happened, he was at Walmart and he just kept seeing all these TVs disappear. Like people were just buying them like crazy. Ophir is asking to stop the war in Sudan. Look, if people don't want a war to happen, you shouldn't have to bribe a country in order to stop a war, right? That's my view on it. You should be able to leverage other things in order to prevent a war. So that's all I'm going to say. I don't think that there should have been any foreign aid in this. Doesn't matter to what country. So you can take that for what it's worth. Let me see there here. Memes of Destruction says, I got nothing wrong with helping people in need out. MC says you can't always prevent a war. Anyway, so I think we're getting a little bit off topic. We're going to talk a little bit about the Georgia runoff. So there was polling released. Now does anybody actually believe in polling? I don't know. I don't know if anybody believes in polling anymore. So we're going to go to 538 just to have a little laugh. Okay, just for the kicks, right? So Emerson College is saying that. So again, why would anybody believe this after all of the shenanigans, after the duplicity of the Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, and after all of the it's just there's no transparency. There's all this reliance on the media and all of that. In any case, apparently, the two Republican candidates for the Senate seats are leading by, I guess, decent margins. But I would say that people should probably focus on this a little bit more next week. So I know MC is going to be pissed off about what I'm about to say, but if you think that the Republican Party is going to help you by having you vote for these two Senate candidates, that they're going to become more responsive and, basically represent your views as the voter, you're an idiot. Okay? The Republican Party has had these people in office for several years. I think Loeffler came into office maybe a year or two ago because she replaced the previous Georgia senator who had to retire due to, I think he said he was just too old and he can't take it anymore. But the bottom line is this, okay? These people have had enough time to help you, and they're not going to start now. So if you live in Georgia, it's up to you, okay? If you think that these people are representing your interests, I can't tell you not to vote for them. But I can tell you that this was happening in Ohio and Senator Portman was up for re-election here in Ohio, I would stay home. And I would stay home for a very simple reason. He is over there in Washington. He is listening to the people over there. He's clearly not listening to the people down here who are hurting from the lockdowns. They don't want to see more. They don't want to see red flag laws in terms of their gun control. And they're generally, Ohio has moved significantly to the right in the past 2 cycles, and Rob Portman has stayed exactly where he is. He's still a centrist cuck, and he still doesn't understand that this state is awakening to the new reality, which is that both of these parties don't represent the needs of everyday Americans, and Ohio politicians are they're just ignoring it. I would say state house politicians, the ones who are running for the state legislature, whether it's the House of Representatives or the Senate, they're starting to realize it, and they're responding accordingly. So you do have some populists on the Republican side who are rebelling against Governor DeWine and rebelling against the establishment in the Ohio Republican Party. But you're not seeing that you're not seeing that, first of all, from the state officials, whether it's DeWine, whether it's our Attorney General, Dave Yost. You are seeing a little bit of it from our Secretary of State, and that's why I think Ohio is in a little bit better shape than Georgia. But yeah, our Senator, Rob Portman, is useless. So if he was up for re-election here, I would have stayed home, and I would say fuck the Republican Party. They can go to hell. As far as Georgia, I don't see anything special about these 2 Republican senators, Perdue and Loeffler, that would make me go out and vote for them. They both seem like very self-absorbed, entitled, rich people that are not really going to do anything that will change the status quo. They will vote for things like this stimulus bill that the Republican Senate put through today. I would have said, if you really believe in the principles of supply and demand and inflation, you would have voted no, right? If you're you have basic understanding of economics. Fuck the whole idea of, I believe in conservatism or whatever. It's supply and demand. It's monetary theory. And it's very basic. You vote no because you want your dollar to be worth something. So I would say that these people are idiots, and if you're looking for them to be inspirational figures, then you're going to vote. You're not going to go out and vote. You're just going to stay home. But, excuse me, I'm going to have to choke out this next part because I'm about to tell you why you might want to go out and vote in the Georgia runoff. And it's not really something that I'm enthusiastic about, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. The people who could come into office if Perdue and Loeffler get defeated are they're also going to for sure ruin the country, right? So you have people like Jon Ossoff. Jon Ossoff, I think, would be comparable. If there's another person in the Senate like him, I think would be someone like Richard Blumenthal. So just a compulsive liar, someone who's incapable of really saying what they mean. He's not going to help you, whether like if you're a progressive, if you're one of these Democrats that's going out to vote and you're going to vote for Jon Ossoff, yeah, you're going to be screwed too. So you're not going to get the things that are your baseline policy areas. You're not going to get Medicare for all, and you're also probably not going to get any opposition to war. So that's one thing I would say, that if you're one of these progressives, you're not going to gain anything if the Democrats win either. So this is basically a fight right now between the mainstream Republicans and the mainstream Democrats. No matter what they tell you, right? So Loeffler and Perdue can go in front of the cameras all the time and say, oh, we support populism, we support Donald Trump or whatever. They're lying, and Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, who are the Democratic candidates, I think are lying to the leftists as well, because I sincerely doubt that they would vote for Medicare for all. I'm sure that both of them are very much in the hands of big pharma, and even if they aren't, there are plenty of other Democrats that are. In any case, the reason that you might want to vote for Perdue and Loeffler, even though they don't really deserve it, right, is because of the people who might come in instead of them. So, like I said, John Ossoff is possibly one of the worst liars that you have. He's basically a chameleon. He's like Beto O'Rourke, but maybe a little shorter and more presentable in public, right? He doesn't stand up on a desk and look like and wave his arms around and pretend to know Spanish. Raphael Warnock is a fruitcake, right? He's basically he's a supporter, I believe, of Reverend Jeremiah Wright, who, if you remember, was this this one of these weird racist preachers in Chicago. So Jeremiah Wright was Barack Obama's minister before he became president, and there was a significant controversy over that. So Raphael Warnock was a supporter of his. I believe that Warnock also might have had ties to Louis Farrakhan, and he has all of the beliefs of the woke left. So I don't think that you would be happy with either of those candidates if you are from Georgia. And I was just in that part of the country. I was very briefly in Georgia. I don't think that they reflect the views of that state. But if they come into power, yeah, you could see Georgia basically become the new vanguard for a leftist revolution in the country. So I'm sorry for those of you that are watching at home and dissatisfied with David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, but you don't have a good choice this election. So I don't know what to tell you. I personally, if this was happening here in Ohio, I would probably be confident that even without my vote, Rob Portman would be reelected, because Ohio's how do I put it? Like, in Ohio, people don't even give a shit. Like voter participation is very low, and he would easily walk to reelection. In Georgia, because of the focus that the media is putting on this, and because of the celebrities and all of the idiots who are wading into this, and because of the clear breaches in security of their electoral system, I don't think that you can trust that Perdue and Loeffler will win without your vote. But it's not a great situation, and you have to make that decision for yourself. I can't make it for you, and I can't tell you if it's important enough to your peace of mind to go out and vote for two people that I personally don't respect very much. And I don't respect the Democratic candidates either. So let's be clear here. I'm not one of these people who's going to tell you explicitly to stay home, but it's very difficult for me to support two senators who have shown themselves to be very shallow and fickle up until this point. So let me see here. How long have we gone? We have gone an hour and a half, and I think that's enough. So please like, share, and subscribe. And I want to cycle through again. Please subscribe to the Razor Sharp News Chronicle newsletter. You can also subscribe to me on BitChute. So here I am on BitChute, and so I'm going to share these in the chat. So all of you that are not subscribed yet can subscribe to me on BitChute. And before you go, also on Odyssey. I think I have 2 channels on Odyssey for some reason. It doesn't make much sense. So there you go. And also on Rumble. And you can also find these. You can find these links in the chat as well. So find me on Rumble. Also, another problem with Rumble I didn't mention is that it takes forever until you're monetized. So bear that in mind. But I will go now and have a great evening. You know, go out. I was told that the Star of Bethlehem is going to be in the sky tonight. So go out and look. What? If you're in the northern hemisphere, it's going to be in the southwest. So go ahead and look for that. And also have a Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. Have a Happy New Year. Have a Happy Hanukkah, even though it's over. And take care.
Shake it up is all that we know. Using the bodies up as we go. I'm waking up to fantasy. The shades all around, all the colors we used to see. Broken eyes still melt in the sun, and times that are broken can often be won again. We're so alone, and so really matters to me. Take a look around. You're out of touch, I'm out of time. But the mud of my hair when you're not around. You're out of touch, I'm out of time. But the mud of my hair when you're not around. Oh, oh, oh. Reaching out for something to hold. Looking for a love where the climate is cold. The manic moves and draws a G, or living in the middle between the two extremes. Smoking gas, hot to the touch, would cool down if we didn't use them so much. Yeah, we're so alone, and so really matters to me.